What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today, I'll be going over the latest news and updates from training camp and talking about how each bit of news relates to each player's value. Last time I made this video was about a month ago, and a good amount of things have changed since then. So I wanted to make sure we do another one of these so you guys are up to date on all the things that are happening in camp. Before we do the stat of the day, I have an announcement for you guys. We're going to be starting a new series on the channel, and it's going to involve you guys. So, in the description of this video, Wednesday's video, and Thursday's video, I want you guys to write your favorite draft picks this season. Ideally, you tell me why as well. So don't just write in the comment section, Vance McDonald, period, enter. No, I want reasons. I want you guys to get into discussions as well. You can do multiple names. I don't want you to list off like 50 of your favorite picks, so maybe cap it at like 3. But if you have just one person that you could pick, say, I want this guy the most on my team, who is it? So write that in the comment section, give a reason, and again, you'll be able to do this today, tomorrow, and Thursday. So, let's do today's stat of the day. And today's stat, among all players with at least 5 targets inside the 10-yard line last season, only one player caught all of their targets. Name that player. All right, we're going to start off with the news, and we're going to start off with AJ Green. This one just happened, so it's one I just want to get right out of the way. AJ Green likely out 6 to 8 weeks. He is, last time I heard, getting a second opinion. But what we have right now is that the torn ligament in his left ankle, and he's out 6 to 8 weeks. This is obviously bad news for those who wanted to draft AJ Green. He was already recovering from toe surgery, so adding this definitely hurts his value. Hopefully it's closer to 6 than it is closer to 8, because that would put him, maybe he misses week 1, but he can come back in week 2, and that wouldn't be the end of the world for fantasy, right? If AJ Green only missed 1 game, his value shouldn't change that much. I'm very interested to see what actually happens, like where his ADP goes, but if he, let's say he gets to the 5th round, I do not expect this to happen. I expect him to probably stay in, the 4th round? We're going to see what happens. If he gets to the 5th round, I 100% sign off on drafting him at that point. Remember, the 5th round is where you can start assuming as much risk as possible with each pick. Obviously, you'd like not every single pick to be extremely risky, but you can do it in the 5th round. I don't expect his ADP to drop that far, but if people are like, hey, the dude's hurt, I can't draft him, and he starts making into that 5th round range, I'm cool drafting him. I have updated the rankings and the projections on the website, so if you want to see how they change, you can check them out there, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But realistically, we already had AJ Green lower than ECR, lower than ADP in our rankings because of his injury concerns. And since he shouldn't miss that much time to do this, he moved down, but not like a ton. It's not like we dropped him, 6 rounds because of this. So he's dropped a little bit, but not that much. Next player, Todd Gurley. And the Rams are giving him, quote, the veteran plan, which basically means that they're going to limit his reps more than usual in practices. He's going to get days off. He's not going to play in the preseason. Basically what we expected. They're just going to rest him. They don't need to play him. They know who Todd Gurley is. They know what he's capable of. It's not like he needs to go out there and develop timing with anyone. He's going to be great when he's on the field. He remains exactly what he was, a risk-reward pick in the late 2nd round with far less upside than he has had in previous seasons. That's just what Todd Gurley is. If you're comfortable taking on that risk, because realistically in the late 2nd round, you got him at the turn and you can take, your number 1 pick plus Todd Gurley plus an elite wide receiver, you've got a lot of upside. So that's where he should be going. Late 2nd round, don't be pushing him into the early part of that, because he's not going to be able to prove that he's healthy this offseason, because he's not going to really play that much. DK Metcalf. Metcalf has been on the field in 2 wide receiver sets. This is something that I was looking for. Was he able to play opposite of Tyler Lockett when they go to 12 personnel or any other 2 wide receiver set? This is what I thought would happen, and I'm very happy that it did happen, because I kind of like DK Metcalf later in drafts. This is a Russell Wilson-led offense. So seeing, hey, he's going to be on the field as much as he can handle, the kid is an unbelievably gifted wide receiver. So it's pretty exciting, his upside. Am I targeting him in every draft? No, of course not. But if you're in a few leagues, I'd want to take a shot on Metcalf. If you're in some best ball leagues, I'd want to take a few shares of DK Metcalf. So I like where he's going right now. He's not a huge steal or anything, but I think if he's available and you want to take him, I sign off on the pick. Derrick Henry left practice with an apparent foot or ankle injury. We know basically nothing. They haven't told us anything. They said they aren't worried, but those are coaches. They're not going to tell us anything. I'm not changing my ranking at all, because I have no reason to believe that this is a major injury that's going to cost them into the regular season. And it's kind of like Todd Gurley, where it's like, listen, I mean, we know what Derrick Henry is in their offense. We know he's going to be a big part of it. They don't need to put him out there right now. They know what they want from him. So if they need to rest him the entire remainder of training camp and not even play him in preseason games, then they're going to. There's no need to rush him back. So I'm not changing my ranking at all. I still have him a little bit above ECR and ADP because he's going to be such a major part of the offense. But if something comes out like he broke his foot or something crazy, obviously that'll change. But right now, we just don't know enough to change him in the ranking. Trey Quinn is reportedly locked into the slot role. That was the most obvious thing in the world. His ADP is nuts. I mean, every single draft, Trey Quinn is not being taken. I mean, he is in like our mock draft competitions because I talk about him in like half of our videos, it seems. But in all your hometown drafts, like, he's not being taken. He's an absolutely amazing late round pick. This is going to be a bad offense. This is going to be a bad offensive line, a bad run game, and a bad pass game. It's just going to be bad. But he has some serious reception upside. I mean, especially if Jordan Reed were to suffer another injury, I mean, they have absolutely no one to throw to. And he is a good wide receiver. He's a great slot wide receiver. So he's got solid reception upside. Will the yards be there? Probably not. Will touchdowns be there? Probably not. But he's a good option late in drafts because he is going to produce because they have nobody else to throw to. Will Fuller is, quote, fully recovered from his ACL tear. I find that hard to believe that he's 100%. But if these reports are coming in right now that he's fully recovered, I mean, unless he suffers a setback, he should be 100% week 1. And that is absolutely amazing news for Deshaun Watson. He remains my quarterback 2. If you want to take him ahead of Mahomes, I can't fault you for it. I wouldn't, but I cannot fault you for doing that. This means, though, you can target him in the middle section of drafts. I'm talking about Will Fuller now. Yeah, he's obviously a massive risk. Everyone coming off an ACL tear is a massive risk, and especially someone who suffered so many other injuries before that. But his ADP is fair. It's appropriate for what he brings to your fantasy team. He brings monster upside. So if you're sitting there in the middle rounds and you have a pretty safe team and you want to take a shot, then Will Fuller can be your guy. Maurice Harris. You probably didn't think I was going to talk about him, but reports are coming in that he's having a great camp. Listen, he might be. I mean, he might be having a phenomenal camp. He might be a good wide receiver. He might get time in the Patriots offense. But don't buy into this hype too much. I mean, they're still playing N'Keal Harry with the second team. He's not going to be on the second team when the season starts. He's not going to be behind Maurice Harris. And let's just say Maurice Harris does make it onto the field for a few snaps. I mean, okay, he's behind all the running backs on their carries, obviously, because he's a wide receiver. But a ton of touches are going to go to the running backs because they have a great offensive line. They want to run the football. You've got James White. You've got the tight ends kind of mixing in there. You've got Dorsett, and you've got Julian Edelman, who's obviously not playing right now because of the thumb injury. Even if Maurice Harris makes it onto the field, you're not playing him in fantasy, so don't worry about the hype too much there. Melvin Gordon, this is more holdout-related news, not injury, of course. Melvin Gordon and the Chargers are still a few million apart per year. So might sound close when you say $2 to $3 million a year, but like that's a lot of money. A few million bucks a year off. He wants to be the highest paid running back in the league. It doesn't make sense for their organization going forward unless they want to take a Super Bowl run this season. That's basically the only rationale they can have for giving him the money. And it's a realistic reason. I mean, if they're sitting there saying, hey, I think we can win the Super Bowl this year, then maybe it is worth jeopardizing the next few seasons in order to go all in this year. I don't know what's going to happen. The most likely scenario is still that he sits out for half of the season, comebacks halfway through, finishes out his contract, and he gets a new one next season. Because if he misses the whole season, then he's not allowed to get a new contract next year. Like if he sits out this whole year, he is right back where he started, having to hold out again for another season next year. But if he plays halfway through the season, he can accrue a year and he can get a new contract next season. So that's what I expect to happen if they don't give him a deal, because I don't really expect a team to offer up that much in trading for him. But I could be wrong. Because we have absolutely no idea what's happening here. But I do have him ranked below ECR, below ADP, because it's just not worth taking that kind of risk in the first round. There's still so many elite talents left. Curtis Samuel, there has been even more hype. Wow, as if Curtis Samuel needed a little bit more hype. Panthers offensive coordinator is impressed with his route running. We've been talking all offseason that he excelled in his route running last season. He learned a ton of new routes. He was great. He was honestly an amazing route runner last year. So his offensive coordinator talking about how he's improved this season. I mean, he's going to be phenomenal. We've been telling you guys, this dude is good. He's being severely undervalued in drafts. His ADP will continue to rise, but I doubt it ever gets to the point where you cannot draft him. I still have him above VCR and ADP. You should be targeting him in every single draft. Another guy you need to be targeting is Moncrief. He has been playing in 2 wide receiver sets. This is something that we were looking forward to seeing in camp. Is it going to be him or James Washington? Well, he's out there. He's across from Juju in 2 wide receiver sets. So it's looking like Moncrief's going to be on the field every single play. And when you lose as many targets as they did this offseason, losing Jesse James, losing Antonio Brown, there are a ton of targets available to go around. And if James Washington doesn't take a massive step forward, then a lot of those targets are going to Vance, and a lot of those targets are going to Moncrief. So you've got to get Moncrief in drafts right now, because his ADP, like Samuel, is going to go up. Golden Tate is appealing his 4-game suspension for PEDs. And honestly, like, if you read his rationale, he has a legitimate case. Like, go find out why he was taking the PEDs and what he did after he found out it was a banned substance. Like, it's completely ridiculous that the league would suspend him for 4 games. It's the league, so we have absolutely no idea what they're going to do. But, I mean, I find it hard to believe they're going to do the full 4 games with this kid. They do have a zero tolerance policy, so it is entirely possible that they just say, no, 4 games for what you did. In which case, wow. I mean, this Giants offense has just been decimated. You've got Coleman, who obviously wasn't going to be great for them, but Coleman tears his ACL. You've got Sterling Shepard breaking his finger, so he's probably going to be back week 1, but he might not be back. And now if you miss Golden Tate for the start of the season, I mean, they have no one. They literally just have Barkley and Ingram. That's going to be extremely easy for people to game plan against, and they've got a terrible quarterback. So they're going to be absolutely brutal to start the season, and probably for the whole season. But to start the season, it's going to be laughable what they put out on the field. Trent Williams, it does not look like he's going to play another snap for Washington, which is a major blow to their offensive line and a downgrade for the running backs. Like, we already weren't targeting any running backs on Washington, and there's just no reason to do so now. I mean, they're going to be horrible. They're not going to score points. They're not going to have a good offensive line. Like, there's just no upside for Washington. So the only piece of that offense you can target is Trey Quinn. And it's just because they're going to have so many garbage time games where they're just dumping off to Trey Quinn 3-4 receptions just in the 4th quarter. Theo Riddick has met with the Saints, and as of recording this, he's going to meet with the Broncos. We don't know any other teams he might meet with. I'd be a little surprised if he landed on the Saints. You know, it'd be a strange move to limit Kamara's touches in the receiving game. Like, I get they want to limit his touches, but you limit his touches on the ground. Like, you just give him a few less carries between the 20s. You pull him in the red zone, and you give him receptions out of the backfield. It's just what you do. It makes the most sense. So I'd be surprised if he goes there. The Broncos make a little bit more sense. We know that Freeman is not a good pass catcher, and Lindsey is just fine. He's not like an elite pass catcher either. So if he goes there, obviously it crushes the value of Lindsey and Freeman, just adding a pass catcher in there. But ultimately, we're just going to have to wait and see, because we have no idea what teams even want him. Like, he's meeting with the teams. He wants to be on a team, but do the teams want to sign him? Lamar Jackson. So John Harbaugh was asked about Lamar Jackson and like how much they want to give him for carries and things like that. And when he's talking about Cam Newton's career high, 139 carries, Harbaugh said he would take the over. And he said we should be expecting more than 139 carries, which is obvious. I mean, the dude had more than that last season, and he had 7 starts. We do know that they want to give him fewer per game than last season, which is smart. They want to keep him healthy, maybe give him less carries, because he had a ton per game last year. So he's going to get less rushing work. But he's still going to run more than any other quarterback, and he's still going to finish as a quarterback 1 as long as he stays healthy. He's going to break the record for rushing attempts by a quarterback, and is not going to be as unlucky in the touchdown department as last season. Remember what he did last season on 164 passing yards per game. He was 8th in total fantasy points, 1st in fantasy points per dropback, and now you give him Hollywood Brown and Boykin instead of John Brown and Crabtree. I mean, he is, like I keep saying, one of the easiest late round picks I have ever seen. It's extremely easy, and it's really not that risky taking a quarterback late, because even if he gets hurt, there's a million others you'll find on free agency. So we are still targeting, obviously, Lamar Jackson everywhere. Kalen Ballage. Ballage has been getting the first team reps in camp, and it kind of seems like they're heading for a 50-50 split. It's surprising given how terrible he was last season, but for me, this is just turning into a situation to completely avoid. With hype this early in camp, it would not be shocking if Ballage's ADP just skyrockets. And there's no way in the world I'm spending that like mid to late, not a late round pick. He's going to be a mid to late round pick soon. This is a bad offense, a low volume offense, and the worst offensive line in the league. I liked Drake because he's clearly their best back, and he's great for fantasy because he can get you points on the ground and through the air. But if we're just going to see this split, then you've got to just avoid this situation entirely. Like, unless Ballage took a massive step forward in the offseason and he's going to completely beat out Drake and get all of the work, then you can target him. But there's no way in the world we're targeting either of these guys if it's going to be a 50-50 split. This offense is not good, and it's not good enough to support multiple fantasy-relevant running backs. Damien Williams, unfortunately, is next, and he left Sunday's practice with a hamstring injury. I'm recording this on Monday, so we still have absolutely no clue the severity. This could be a 3-day injury. This could be a 3-week injury. We have no idea. They are not going to tell us anything. All we know is that he did not practice on Monday. We'll see if he practices on Tuesday. But as of right now, we know nothing. We are still targeting both of them. I've moved him down. I had him as a first-round value. As soon as someone gets a hamstring injury, they're moving back. So he's now a second-round value, according to our rankings. We're still targeting both of them because that's where he's going in drafts, is that second round, and still high. I mean, I have Hyde well above ECR and ADP. You can draft both of them because really all I want is the starting running back on the Chiefs, and we saw as soon as he went down, Hyde stepped in and took the first team reps. Williams is clearly the superior talent and clearly going to be the starter as long as he's healthy, but if he were to suffer a long-term injury, then Carlos Hyde is someone you're going to want on your team. So you can target both of them in drafts. Jordan Howard is next. He's been dominating the first team reps in camp. Hopefully this news continues and we can get Sanders at a discount in drafts. We're still not targeting Howard, especially as his ADP begins to rise. He's not going to catch passes, so his upside is extremely capped. And Sanders is the best running back on the roster. We don't draft the second best running back on rosters when we expect the rookie to take over at some point. I don't think he's going to take over right away. So we're still targeting Sanders in drafts, but I don't think to begin the season he's going to be a starter. I think Jordan Howard's going to be the starter. But as we get to the mid and late portions of the season, that's when Sanders is going to take more carries away per game. We don't want Jordan Howard. Maybe to begin the season, you're going to feel like that was a great pick, but not towards the end of the season. And towards the end of the season is what matters more than the beginning of the season. So Jordan Howard, still a no for me, and it's great that his ADP is rising. I hope that it gets even further up so that we can get even more value in the mid rounds. So that's the latest news as of noon on Monday, July 29th. If anything happens after noon on the East Coast on Monday, July 29th, it's not in here. It'll have to be updated in future videos. Also remember, you can download my rankings and my projections for both the draft and the regular season at our website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com. But that's the end of this video. I hope you did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? If you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.